Last week, the Minnesota Vikings made significant inroads behind the scenes with trades that changed the makeup of their roster. General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah once again demonstrated his strategic prowess by making trades that not only benefit the present, but also the future of the franchise. In one of the moves, the team gave up defensive tackle Harrison Phillips and, in return, received 2 sixth-round picks and a 7th-round selection, thus expanding their options in the upcoming draft. This type of decision demonstrates the team's constant search for a balance between experience and renewal within the roster. Soon after, Adofo-Mensah wasted no time in using one of those 6th-round picks in a trade for Sam Howell to the Philadelphia Eagles. The result was the acquisition of 5th and 7th-round picks, further strengthening the Vikings' draft capital and increasing the possibilities of adding new talent at strategic positions. These changes not only shook up the current roster but also made clear the management's long-term vision, which seeks to build a solid and competitive foundation capable of sustaining the team in the coming seasons. At first, the information released did not mention any conditions attached to these draft picks. It seemed simple and straightforward, as if the deal had been reached without additional clauses or hidden details. However, a deeper look at the NFL's official records reveals a different scenario than previously imagined. League documentation presents an alternative version, revealing that there are indeed significant details in these negotiations. This discrepancy between the initial impression and what has been officially confirmed adds a new layer of complexity to the transactions. What appeared to be simply a conventional trade, in practice, carries nuances that could directly impact the Minnesota Vikings' future in terms of strategic planning and the use of the acquired picks. This detail reinforces how every move in the NFL market must be closely monitored, as even subtle changes can alter the course of a team over the coming seasons. The Sam Howell trade ended up attracting a lot of attention precisely because of its surprise. Few believed the Vikings would be able to get any significant return for the player, especially after a preseason below expectations and a training camp that left him wanting. Yet the unexpected happened. Eagles general manager Howie Roseman decided to move forward with the trade, likely driven by the delicate situation the franchise found itself in following Aidan O'Connell's wrist fracture in the final preseason game. What seemed, at first glance, merely a move for immediate necessity, proved more complex upon closer examination. The trade presented several points of interest, both for its immediate impact on the Vikings and for its potential medium-term impact. One detail that initially went unnoticed but gained prominence in official NFL records was the condition attached to the 5th-round pick. This conditional factor, not initially disclosed, adds another layer of significance to the deal. In negotiations like this, small clauses can turn into big advantages or subtle adjustments that make all the difference in the team's future. For the Vikings, each pick acquired carries strategic weight, and the fact that there are specific conditions attached to this draft pick makes the trade even more interesting for those closely following the roster's construction. It's quite striking that only the 5th-round pick was classified as conditional. This seemingly simple detail leaves room for various interpretations and raises a series of questions about the actual terms of the deal. The first point that naturally arises is curiosity about what exactly this condition established between the parties might be. Within league standards, the most plausible hypothesis involves some type of incentive related to the player's playing time, something common in transactions of this type. A clear example occurred with Cam Robinson, who had a similar clause in his contract. In his case, meeting this criterion transformed a 5th-round pick into a 4th, while also canceling the possibility of the team receiving a 7th-round pick. If this is indeed the situation involving the Vikings, it demonstrates how strategic details can significantly alter the value of a trade. Depending on the player's performance and usage, a pick can become more valuable, increasing the return and completely changing the interpretation of the deal. This possibility shows that the trade the sensation was not just circumstantial, but designed to have a direct impact both on the present and on future seasons. Beyond this possibility, there are other conditions that could have been applied to this deal. One, quite common in the NFL, is tied to the simple requirement that the player remain active in a certain number of games during the season. This type of clause acts as a guarantee for the receiving team, ensuring that he will have effective participation before justifying a more valuable draft pick. A similar example can be found in the Vikings' own recent history. In 2022, when the franchise acquired quarterback Nick Mullins from the Las Vegas Raiders, the trade was tied to precisely this type of incentive. In that case, it was a 7th-round pick, which would only be confirmed if Mullins was active in a minimum number of games during the season. This type of contractual detail demonstrates how franchises seek to protect their interests while simultaneously investing in players who can offer immediate or strategic solutions. In Howell's case, if the condition actually involves playing time or game attendance, this further reinforces the idea that the Eagles sought security in the trade, while the Vikings were able to turn an unfavorable situation into draft capital with the potential to yield important rewards in the future. Another very plausible possibility is that the condition isn't necessarily tied to the player's performance, but rather to the specific value of the 5th-round pick the Eagles will ultimately give up at the end of the season. In this scenario, the decision could depend on which of the available picks is sent to the Vikings, even taking into account the compensatory picks the Philadelphia team is projecting. Currently, the Eagles are projected to receive a compensatory 5th-round pick due to Mekhi Becton's departure. Furthermore, the team already holds 5th-round picks from the Atlanta Falcons and Houston Texans, resulting from previous trades. To further increase the possibilities, there's also the chance they could retain the San Francisco 49ers' 5th-round pick if certain conditions linked to the Bryce Huff trade are met. This makes the scenario even more interesting and complex. Rather than simply being a matter of playing time or appearances, the condition could be related to the hierarchy of picks the Eagles will have available.